this episode has made up for how disjointed this arc has felt so far. This was beautifully executed for two main reasons in my view. The first was how Jing was used as a narrative tool to round up everything that's happened so far. I love that the episode started with him threatening the head chef. Now, people may look at that and be like, oh my goodness, I can't believe he's turned his back on the people that fed him. The purpose of that restaurant is to feed people regardless of their past, regardless of what's happened. They just feed people, even if those people are then going to turn their backs on them. So it actually makes sense that Jing snaked it and turned his back on them. And it makes sense that Sanji wasn't surprised by Jing turning his back on everyone. Makes narrative sense that the head chef wasn't surprised by that either. In fact, this just goes to show the strength of just how much Sanji and the head chef just want to feed people regardless. It just adds to the whole thing about cooking being a genuine passion and treasure for them. It's also beautiful because remember when we first saw Jing, right? He was on his deathbed, he was dying, he was super hungry. Sanji fed him because he's been in that situation before. And in this episode, we get to see him in that position before. So it just neatly ties up that angle because we were sort of teased that Sanji's been in this angle, but we didn't really understand why he had that empathy. So them wrapping that up together and concluding that element, I just thought was so beautifully executed. That's the first thing. Second thing I really enjoyed about this episode was the fact that we saw the parallels between Luffy's story and Sanji's story. When Sanji was first approached by Redfoot Zeph's pirates, he was aggressively trying to stand up for everyone and he was getting ready to fight them, even though it's guaranteed defeat. Luffy, when he was with Shanks and Shanks's crew were attacked, Luffy was so hot-headed and he was also trying to fight, even though he was a kid and he had no chance, yet he still tried to fight. Sanji also tried to fight. Shanks then went on to try and save Luffy, and in saving Luffy, what did Shanks lose? His arm. This guy, Redfoot Zeph, on the other hand, he went to save Sanji for something that he believed in, the Old Blue, and in doing that, he lost his leg. So it's just great that Luffy and Sanji have got these parallels, and at some points of the episode you saw Luffy doing, I call it the Luffy recruitment phase. You saw Luffy watching just how Sanji was reacting to the ship burning and everything going on, and Luffy was just looking at him, almost looking at him as if like, I can see myself in you. So it makes perfect sense why Sanji would then join the crew, because they are really the same thing and they're kind of after the same goal. Going back to the Old Blue, East Blue, West Blue, etc, etc. In the previous episodes I was thinking to myself, okay, East Blue's been mentioned a few times, but I don't know where it sits on a map and I don't know what it means for the rest of the story. I don't know how significant it is. I don't know whether East, West, South Blue, are they all the same sizes? Is one smaller than the other? What's one particular blue known for? Hearing that there's an Old Blue where all recipes are met and people don't think it's real, that to me sounds like something that exists but only in the Grand Line. And I bet you that's why Captain Redfoot Zeph went to the Grand Line in the first place, because he's out there looking for the point where all of the seas meet and you get all of these recipes, etc. In my view, that is his One Piece. That's what he might think the One Piece is. Likewise for Sanji as well. So it makes sense for Sanji to join Luffy because Sanji's looking for the One Piece. For all we know, the One Piece is just some all-purpose seasoning. The scene where they were stuck on the island and one person is facing that way, one person is facing that way, I genuinely thought, I can't believe I fell for this, I genuinely thought that big bag that Redfoot Zeph had, there was going to be loads of food in there and he was going to ration it with Sanji later on. But no, this man just had treasure in there, which is depressing because you can't eat money. Like, what is treasure? Treasure is subjective. And I think that's what this episode was just trying to highlight to us, saying, hey, you can have all this bling, pearls, gold, diamonds, etc, etc, but when it comes down to it, what do human beings actually need? They need food. The fact that this guy then went out of his way to be like, okay, this is going to be my treasure, screw doing the Old Blue, I'm now going to adjust my life goal based on what's happened to me, and I'm going to build a sea restaurant. I think he's won in life by anime standards, and I think that's a dub. I think that's a win for Redfoot Zeph. I loved how when Sanji was protecting the ship, he was saying, this is his treasure, we have to protect it. I loved how they had Jing there just to remind us that Jing was a hungry boy at one point. I just love how we got to see Sanji actually being hungry and how he felt in that moment. And it was also great to see that he was a cook before all of this started. All of that aside though, it is interesting that Redfoot Zeph, he met Sanji originally because he was on badness, because they came over to like take over the ship and they were just bad guys essentially, but then they reformed. Likewise, all of the fighting cooks, and I think this episode is just beautiful. Is it goated? Maybe, but has it made this arc better? 100%, because this arc was just really annoying me because the stories were jump, 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 jump. I hope it continues this pace. If in the next episode we start finding out a little bit more about Zoro and Mihawk, I'm gonna be annoyed, but so far, I'm happy.